Alright, so hey guys, sorry for the terrible video quality. I won't go over, this is a video not for just y'all, but for me as well, for future reference. If you're like me and you try to look up online for single phase motors how to wire in a capacitor, you know it's nearly impossible to find out anything on the capacitor or how to wire. It's like all they tell you is to go buy the motor. If you don't go buy the motor, then you don't have anything. Luckily, we have a plate on this one, and this is I'm using for a reference for another motor I have. That has a soft start. Now this is one. This wiring setup is only for centrifugal clutch motors. So this is one style of centrifugal clutch. That right there spins out, disconnects these leads right here. See how they're connected right now? It pops down and then releases that connection. Now what this does, it goes from lead to capacitor line to centrifugal clutch, jumps over and goes back from centrifugal clutch, goes to here, then goes to lead. So I'm just verifying that. But the way we have it here is lead 1 is 1 and 5, but so what we do is lead 1 is connected to lead 8. Lead 1 goes to wire 1, which is connected to wire 8. Wire 8 is our capacitor. Now these go, leg 1 goes to 1 and then 8, and then that's either soldered or wired nut off. Then at the same time on a separate one, you connect wire 5, wire 2, wire 3. Wire 5 is the other capacitor line. So what that does is it's still lead 1, but it goes from wire 1, wire 8, wire 5, wire 2, and 3. And then comes out to wire 4 for a complete circuit. So what you do is you wire in lead 1 to 1 and 8, and then you wire 5, 2, and 3 together and 5 is the capacitor, 8 is the capacitor. Next, you take we have a ground on this one, and that goes directly to the motor. So you only have 2 wires that need to be connected to the motor. Then you have lead 2, which just connects to 4. Now what we did was we converted to 110. And so what we did, so since this one's marked already, we did lead 1 as 5, which is our capacitor, to 2 and wire 2 and wire 1. Now then we took our second lead, which is whichever wire you choose, and we wired it to our capacitor wire 8 to 3 and 4, and that completes our entire circuit. Now what we had to do on this motor, you can see right here, to reverse rotation, interchange leads 5 and 8. So we were rotating in the wrong direction. So all we did is we took the wires apart, put 8, 1, 2, and lead 1 together. Then we took lead 2, 4, 5, 3 together, and that gave our 110 volt. This is only for centrifugal clutch motors. So what we did, we also had to we went ahead and replaced the capacitor. This is a 445 microfarad capacitor, the plus or minus of 5. That's the variant. Now you will have a second number on some capacitors, and that's if the capacitor has a third block lead. That is for a low voltage connection. And you can still use that style capacitor, but this is a 2-poled style. What we then did is we sanded down the terminals here. Sanded down the terminals and bent the terminals in because they were not connecting. So we rewired it to 110. We put in a new capacitor. And well, the problem with this motor, it wasn't running at all on 110. And what I thought from the shop I got it, I thought it was a 110 shop. It was a 240 shop. So I replaced the capacitor, that didn't work. Then I went ahead and changed the wires, and that didn't work. And so then we took off the back plate and checked the centrifugal clutch, and that was the problem. But we went ahead and cleaned it and bent the wires in so they would connect, and it is all set up now. And we would get a hum, and it would go in. The whole reason the way we figured it was something to do with the capacitor or the centrifugal clutch. It's because when you turned it on, it was humming, and sometimes it would rotate, and it was a slow rotation. That was just because the connection between these 2 points weren't solid, and there was just a minor magnetic field going through them, electrical field going through it, and allowing it to slightly turn. But we could turn it by hand, and it would start up. But here we go, and this is how, after we fix the centrifugal clutch, this is how easy it starts. If you saw that flash, that is the flash of the disconnecting plates. That will go away over time. What that is since we sanded it, has a bunch of little divots on it. And so what it does, it doesn't want to disconnect from those divots. But over time, they will get worn down over like probably another 20 starts or so. And you won't have as big of a flash, but you'll always have a slight little spark from the disconnection. That is the tiny bit of plasma that is generated as it disconnects. The problem comes in is if you have one that will not disconnect, you will fuse these 2 plates right there. You will fuse them together, and you will have to replace this whole plate here. Luckily, that hasn't happened with this. Most of the time, they spread out, or they get stuck in this one position and they get pushed out and just warped and everything. So we just bent them back in and sanded them, and they're good to go. But that is for y'all and for me for future reference. But if you're like me and you try to find anything on how to wire a capacitor, you wire it to your lead 1, but your first number goes to 1 wire, and then your second number goes to 2 wires. That is only for a 6-wire machine. If you have 8 wires, say if you have 6 wires and it's still a single phase, you have 6 wires to 2. So instead of having 6 wires like we have here, we would have 8 wires in total with the capacitor. That will not work with this setup. You will have to find, I don't know that one yet, but I couldn't find any info on how to wire it to a 6-wire, how to wire a 6-wire motor with the capacitor together. But that's how you wire it. You go from your first number to 1 lead, then you connect your second number. You go to your first wire, connect it to your lead, go to your capacitor wire, then you go to your second wire on your, and connect it to the other 2, which is your capacitor line, to the other 2 wires, and that will complete your lead 1, and then you'll have 1 wire left over for your lead 2. Doesn't matter. It does matter, but if you had a different machine, these numbers don't help you. It will be a different number. Just go by your machine. If you can't figure out the capacitor lines, that's how you figure out the capacitors. You go from lead 1 to wire 1 to your capacitor line, and then you go from the others to finish connecting it. You connect the other 3 of your lead 1, and that will complete your circuit. Y'all have a good one. Thanks. Bye.